Hello everyone, Fiat here, and welcome to part 6 of my Anno 2205 playthrough. And in this one, well, we kind of get to experience the recovery from a market crash. Now, one
Forschungsresultate
thing that
können
I've been
nicht
doing
aufrechterhalten
is I've been
werden.
trying to diversify my economy a little bit and try to get trade routes into new markets. And at first it seemed to be doing okay, but both markets have inevitably crashed. The first one was I began to try to get a Medbot export route in the Tundra region, but that crashed so hard in terms of the market value that I had to basically delete that route. And then in another region, I tried to get Android production up, but that one looks like it's about to crash as well. Currently it's generating 25,000 credits a minute, but if I renew the contract at the current price, it's going to only give me 4,368. That's kind of a huge crash, and that's going to put it down into the negatives. But first things first, I've also been expanding into other regions as well. As you can see now, I own every region, yay. And then I'm playing around a little bit with this region here with heat pumps and trying to colonize a lot of areas, which is why I'm running out of money, because if you look up top here, you can see that I have almost 7,500 oil. I was actually generating so much from that technology that I actually shut it off.
Bislang scheint die
And I've
brauchen Sie
actually
mich
been
für einen
playing around with this
Statusbericht.
technology up here that I said I didn't really like, just to see how it works, so we'll see.
Ich warte.
Alright, but let's see what this is like, generating the heat pumps. Oh yay, something that takes oil.
Die Voraussetzungen sind geschaffen. Weiter zum nächsten Schritt.
Okay, I guess this looks like something similar to the swamp. Oh well, well, since we got a trade route, or you know what, let's see. Let's go ahead and get fusion energy cells here.
Transferroute nimmt Betrieb auf.
See, this is one of those things that's going to require energy in order to function properly. But I don't feel like building a bunch of power plants here, and we don't have to, because one of the things that we set up was an energy producing location. But get that started, and let's just focus on the market.
Eingeleitet.
So as we dive into the tundra, you can see the changes that I've made here. I've worked to expand the production of biocatalyst by quite a bit, but this is the Medbot facility I was talking about. I basically had to shut this one down. Not too many people were laid off, and as you can see, I'm down to just 7 workers available, so most of them still have jobs. But when you look here at one of these facilities, it cost over 6,000 credits to operate, and the route got so bad that the 50 or 60 that I was exporting was would only be generating a profit of like 500, and each one of these things produces 38 at max, so essentially paying 6, 7, 8,000 credits a minute to make 500 a minute. Yeah, the market crashed really hard. And the fun thing is, that was with that 150% bonus, so I'm not sure exactly what happened there, but I guess medbots are not the area to be specializing in. But I suppose it makes sense, since the only area that uses medbots is the tundra region, so it makes sense that not many people would buy it. And the other markets are kind of holding steady. I mean, this one's been holding steady at 31,790, so Vita Drinks, let's go ahead and renew that.
Route haben Sie da.
And this one is
Transferoptionen
with the
werden
rejuvenators, that's
aktualisiert.
dropped 5,000, but that's not that big of a deal.
Billig einkaufen und teuer verkaufen. Das ist die Erfolgsformel.
And then we got this one here, like I say, that's
Parameter
dropping
werden
majorly.
erneuert.
But let's go to this region, because the idea of what I was trying to do here was set up an Android production center, because I have that technology that has androids produce neural implants, which is something Tier 2 citizens need. So I was wondering if I could potentially get Tier 3 citizens, and technically you could, but if you do that, then the region is just pretty much not going to be profitable. I mean, as you can see by looking here, we are generating a loss of 7,000 57 credits a minute, and for a temperate region that really should not be happening, a loss of credits, but we were making up for it by making 25,000. But if we go down to this, to where we're only making 4,000, then that's a net loss of about 3,000, which is not good at all. Alright, so the question then is, how do we solve this problem, and more importantly, how do we get profitable again? Because one thing I'd like to do, ideally by the end of this episode, is go back to having a profit of over 100,000 credits a minute. I don't think that's actually going to be possible, but screw it, I'm going to try it. But, I mean, originally, I was actually thinking about not recording this phase until I recovered, but then again, when you're playing a game like this with a dynamic economy, you're going to have market crashes, you're going to spend a lot of time setting up industries and only to see them crash horribly. And how do you recover from that? And I feel that's kind of one thing that it's good for a veteran to kind of show and demonstrate how to go about doing that. And so that's ideally what we're going to do here. Hopefully, and maybe hopefully people will learn something. I don't know. Alright, and I'm going to play around with some different things, so I guess we're going to see how well that works. Now, when it comes to trade routes, we have 2 trade routes currently available in the world market, and one of the reasons we have an extra route is the Marigold Islands. There is a sector project here that makes it so that each stage you complete, as I understand it, gives you an additional trade route. Now, we've currently completed the first stage of this one, and we have to be corporation level 50 in order to be able to get to the second stage, and so we've got to majorly increase our population to get to that point. But what we've done is, with this area, since its bonus is a 50% bonus to the wind power plants, we've essentially dedicated this area to the production of energy, and its goal is to ideally produce energy and then distribute it to the other regions, because with some of the other regions and the expensive stuff that we're building, particularly in the temperate region, they require a lot of power, and we're running out of space, and building wind power plants in those regions just doesn't make sense because we're running out of the space. Not only that, as I demonstrated before, the wind power plants are horribly inefficient compared to the amount of energy that some buildings take up. In addition to that, we can't really build water power plants in the temperate region because as the populations expand, we need a lot more water. Whereas here, we are going to keep all the citizens here at Tier 1. I don't think I'm going to bother with Tier 2 citizens in this region. And as a result, their requirements are only going to be food, water, and information, which we'll be able to easily supply. And then in this way, we can fill the area with as many power plants, preferably wind, as possible. And as you can see with these circles here, I'm already trying to push the grid to its maximum. So everywhere that I can build a wind power plant and not interfere with another one, well, I'm going to, which is the name of the game for this region here. But it's going to be a major supplier of energy, and when you consider that energy can be produced relatively cheaply, like each one of these power plants is only costing me 1 credit a minute, and then I can then transfer that energy freely to other regions, it's a major help. I mean, we're already currently transferring energy to this route here because the sector project requires an energy balance of 3,000 a minute, and this allows us to easily complete sector projects, and this is going to be a major supplier for energy to other regions. But I also wanted to be generating a profit if at all possible, so one thing that we're going to do is we're going to try to export some biopolymer, because with the sector project here generating an additional trade route, we might as well make use of that trade route, right? And so we're going to be producing biopolymer. Now, this is technically not a pharmaceutical, but the basic building material. However, it is classified as a biotech industry, which, according to the technology tree, we have a 50% bonus to the price that we can export it from. And unlike medbots and androids that are consumed by a small percentage of people, biopolymer is needed to build, well, everything. So in theory, getting a biopolymer production facility up and running to massive effect should generate a decent amount of profit. So that's what we're going to try to accomplish here. get biopolymer production up and running to where we're exporting our maximum of 500, and then ideally we want to keep the Android business up and running as long as possible, because maybe eventually someday it'll be profitable, and we'll see. I don't want to get rid of that one. I'm okay with getting rid of the medbot industry because that was basically powered by drones anyways, but this is powered by actual workers. I don't want to lay people off, but at the same time, this is a business. We need to make profit. So that's ideally our initial plan, is to get biopolymer up and running, which shouldn't be too hard. First things first though, we need more workers. And I need to check in here.
Herausragendes
Okay.
Timing, mein Freund.
Maybe I'll do a couple missions as well. Find the taxi on one of the islands.
Gut.
Okay, so first and foremost, we need to get more workers because I've got it down to perfect where nobody's without a job. We need to build a couple more workers, and then they're going to begin to consume water, which we need to begin immediately producing more of. Shouldn't be too difficult. No, that's not where I want to road. Yeah, not enough workers. Story of my life.
Bestätigt. Rod.
Da weiß offenbar jemand, wie der Hase läuft.
Okay.
Volle Kraft voraus.
And like I say, other people come to your port and offer you missions from time to time. So I accept them because I need to keep up plenty of the graphite material, the blue stuff, because obviously I want to expand on each of these islands, and the cost of doing so is getting insane to where it's like the next one's going to be 2.3 million with a cost of 350 of that rare resource. So yeah, we're going to need a lot of it.
Ich
Please
bin
tell
froh,
me you're
dass Sie
offering me
verfügbar
some.
sind. Wir brauchen Hilfe.
Oh, just 35.
Das ist
Oh well,
super.
better than nothing.
Bestätigt.
Alright. Now, since this is an energy producer, I want to make sure that everywhere that I can produce energy, I am. So, again, I really love my block setup that I do here. Call me weird, but I just gotta have my organization. Okay, let's put it to where it'd be the most efficient. There you go, you'd be at 100% efficiency. Another nice thing about the missions is it gives you something to do while you're waiting for
Verstanden.
resources to build up, while simultaneously giving you more resources and allowing you to gain, ideally as well, more money.
Andocken erfolgt. Volle Kraft
Because
voraus.
as I mentioned in the previous video, one of the things that the missions do offer you is money, and then if you have that
Roger.
technology in the respective area that has someone giving you 50% more, the payouts can be kind of huge. In one case, that guy that I get more 50% bonus from for doing things with the agricultural, he offered me a mission a while back that paid credits, and because I had the 50% bonus, the total credit payout was
Das war
800,000,
beeindruckend
which
mit
that's kind of a
anzusehen.
nice for a single
Vielen Dank
mission.
dafür.
Schau an, wer da ist.
Du
Ah,
hast doch nicht etwa gerade lange
giving me the
frei.
resource I want. Excellent. But yeah, that's one thing that I like about this game, and one reason that I'm not getting bored, whereas opposed to games like City Skylines and stuff, you really don't have these missions and things to do while you're waiting for resources or money to build up, which is kind of annoying. Whereas here you can actively participate in gaining resources. I mean, you could just sit and wait if you so desire, or you could be doing things. And I've actually found myself going down and doing some combat missions to gain some resources as well. And like here, for example, we get an escort mission.
Gut. Ich wollte
So
mich
let's
schon selbst
accept
drum
it to show
kümmern.
you how escort missions work in this
Im
game.
Gange.
basically you gotta collect a ship and then bring it to a set point, but once you do that, it'll spawn enemies. And your command ship by default has no offensive capabilities, but fortunately, we happen to have our combat fleet in the sector, so let's just get them going. They can kill the enemies that spawn.
Koordinaten bestätigt. Roger.
And considering we need to have money grow rapidly to expand our islands, that's kind of why we're doing these kind of missions. Because like I say, before you enter into the stock market, I recommend that you go ahead and buy all the islands and every sector you own and all that. I mean, sure, it may seem like a lot of waiting before you get into the stock market, but
Im Gange.
like I say, once you enter into the stock market, you are going to need all your massive amounts of money for
Sind
that.
unterwegs.
Alright, so should be pretty simple. Our fleet's getting into position and let's go for it.
Andocken erfolgreich. Verstanden. Im Gange.
Ah, great. It's air units. Well, shoot.
Bestätigt.
Yeah, you never know from time to time if it's going to spawn air units or naval units.
Roger. Bestätigt. Im Gange. Verstanden.
Yeah, that kind of sucks. Run, my friend, run.
Koordinaten bestätigt.
Why couldn't it have been
Volle Kraft
ships?
voraus.
No, it has
Bestätigt.
to be air
Harte
units.
Arbeit zahlt sich
Well, that was
aus.
a complete waste. Oh well, we win anyways. But yeah, sometimes it does spawn ships, which as you imagine, are much easier for the ships to kill. Okay, but I guess it's time to stop doing missions because I just got the message stating that this route is about to expire. Wonderful. Oh wait! Okay, the price just jumped up a little bit. Because the world market has updated. Excellent. Salmon International. Yeah. Power shortage has halted production. Organic food production is shooting up high. Androids are up higher. Excellent. IntelliWare. Oh, sweet. Gravity compensators are down. Diamonds are down. Replicators. I don't care. Well. Well, you know what? Since it's going to be such a great reduction in the amount that we have, I mean, it's great that it grew up a little bit, but since we're going to be losing money, let's just wait till the end of the contract. In the meantime, expand our production. So, let's pump out the biopolymer.
Space Shuttle dockt an.
Alright. We should have a workforce to support this easily. Alright, yeah. It's not going to be all that hard to get biopolymer production up. I mean, when you look at the market prices, though, it technically doesn't pay that much. I mean, let's just see
Lassen
here,
Sie mich das kurz
biopolymer.
abschließen. Dann können Sie...
Where are you? Yeah, I mean, it's 60 credits a unit, even though the price is going down, but when you consider how cheap it is to produce, that kind of is easily compensated for. I mean, let's just give it to you a demonstration. So here we are, this facility right here is producing 60, and it's costing me only 300 to produce, and it's requiring resources from this farm, which is costing 400. So that's a total of 700, and it's producing a total of 60. Now when we look at, let's say a new trade route, it's producing 60 and it's selling at 60 apiece, and 60 times 60 is of course 3,600 credits a minute. So 3,600 credits a minute, and it's costing us 700 credits to produce it, so essentially a profit of 2,900 credits. That doesn't seem like much, but some profit is better than no profit, and ideally we need to compensate, and this good is going to be in a lot more demand, so it's cheaper, but a lot more people want to use it, and that of course leads to sustainability, which is an absolute must in an industry. Not only that, but when you take a look at the amount of credits we're making, this area is making a profit, so that means the income we're receiving from our citizens minus the expenses for our operations is still giving us a net profit, whereas here that's not the case. So yes, this is not going to be near as quote-unquote profitable as some more expensive stuff, but it's going to be dependable, and that is ideally what I'm after. So now it's just a matter of building more houses, supplying the goods for those houses, while simultaneously expanding our industry. And now it looks like the choice is being forced on us. Grr. Okay, let's just see how bad this is. Okay, so 25,000 minus 8,000 is approximately a 17,000 credit a minute loss. Oh, this is gonna hurt. Okay, yeah.
Genehmigt. Die Route ist
Not fun, not fun,
Transferoptionen
not fun.
werden
Our other
aktualisiert.
area's doing well. Okay, this is going up slightly, and like I say, if it's going up slightly or stayed the same,
die Waren
renew the
gehen raus.
contract. That's the way I do it. Okay, this is still saying the same, so renew,
Genehmigt.
please.
Die Route ist offiziell eröffnet.
And our stimulant production is still staying the same.
Transferoptionen werden aktualisiert.
Die Waren gehen raus.
Okay, is that all 4 of our routes?
Transferroute wird überarbeitet.
Okay, so I don't think we're... Well, are we making a profit? Okay, it's generating 8,808 credits a minute. The area is losing, which means overall our industry down here with androids is still technically profitable. We're making about 1,800 credits a minute profit from this region, so I guess that's good. Not to mention the fact that this region is producing a lot of building materials that we're currently using up in other areas. Speaking of which, I should probably go check that. Alright, so here we are back in the Arctic, and that's one thing that I do recommend. Never get so caught up in one area that you forget about the projects that are going to take about a bit of time in the other one. So for example, with here, in order to be able to get additional building space, much like in the tundra, we have to do some pumping. I suppose to get rid of it, these take a bit of resources to build the pump.
In Ordnung.
Let's see what... Okay, allows access to the next area, creates warmth in the region, can be used to generate geothermal energy, okay. But like I say, it takes energy to activate it, so we've essentially got building materials coming in large amounts to be able to support its production. So we can have multiple pumps
Das
going
war
on.
weise.
And so like I say, that one region that I'm producing androids in, it's not a total loss. I mean, again, it's making some profit, but additionally that's producing a large amount of biopolymer that we're exporting here, which is what we need for these pumps. So we're essentially getting the pumps working, and we're having the advanced building material coming in too. Oh, I have to have access to that area before I can start doing it. Grr. Well, I've got access to you.
Gut.
So that's
Mal
essentially
sehen,
what we're
was ich
doing. We're
tun
having a
kann.
bunch of resources coming in so that we can get started on these pumps now, and then when we're going to be ready to build in this region, well then we'll be just fine. And coincidentally, let's just go ahead and
Koordinaten
maximize
bestätigt.
it. Go ahead and colonize this other island so we can start pumping you too. And how much is it going to cost to do this? Ooh, 2,326,000. Oh well.
Sehr vorausschauend. Ein weiterer Firmensitz in der Arktis wird sich als
It's
nützlich
expensive,
erweisen.
but expanding now while you've got all that extra money before you enter the stock market is again something that I recommend, so... Okay, let's see, it's going to take 5 We're generating a positive balance of 8, and it's going to take 10 of that, so go for
Gut,
it.
mal sehen, was ich tun
There we
kann.
go, we got all those pumps working, and now we go back to the other areas and let this thing do its thing. Of course, another thing you don't want to ever neglect is when you have those areas that are generating resources to go back and collect them. So here with the iridium mines, or extractors, we've completed this sector project, so we've got 3 iridium, and we're burning through a lot of iridium because one thing that we did was a bunch of geothermal engineering in the Arctic. I mean, this region up here, with its sector trade, we ideally want to produce a lot of neural implants there because that's one thing that I want to try to export for profit. So in order to be able to produce those faster, we kept doing geothermal engineering until we got it to where the molybdenum production rate is increased by 20%. So that will help us with what we intend to use that sector for, although there's not that many mountain building sites, so maybe that was a bad choice, but screw it, we're going to do it anyways. And then in this area here, we've been working on the sector project to produce the blue resource that we need, and when you consider that you have this island map and then this one where we're currently building, there is a lot of islands that we're going to have to colonize, and the cost of this resource is just ever increasing, so we need to make absolutely sure that we have enough resources to compensate for it. So generating them passively is nice.
Schön,
Of course,
Sie
it would be a lot
wiederzusehen.
nicer if I could be generating them
Sehe ich Sie
by
sowieso
going down the
ständig.
electronics tree, but yeah. Coincidentally though, because there's that technology
Schön,
in
Sie
the electronics
wiederzusehen.
tree
Andererseits
to
sehe ich Sie sowieso
generate
ständig.
this resource passively, if you want to do a lot of expansion or
Kundenanalysen
colonize
zeigen
sectors
unerfüllt.
in the
Volle
temperate
Kraft
region with a lot of islands, going down the electronics tree may not be a bad idea for that. Now the next stage in this sector project, 80 anti-gravity compensators. Okay, I've been importing some in passively instead of buying them because my main temperate region uses them, but I'm importing a surplus of 4, so I figured
Space
over
Shuttle
time
docked
just
an.
transfer that surplus over and to complete this sector project. So there we go. And wait a minute, this is going to be the final stage. Woot woot. So we just give it to her, and
Volle Kraft
this sector
voraus.
project will be complete, which means we'll be generating the maximum amount of this resource that we need. There you are, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Es funktioniert. Erstrahlend neu. Du schöne alte Technologie. Ich fahre dich hoch. Das ist so cool. Eve-Software, die noch funktioniert. Dies könnte ein neues Zeitalter der künstlichen Intelligenz bedeuten. Vielen Dank.
Okay. Alright, now it's generating one, and the nice thing is, with a max capacity of 250, if I forget to collect it for a while, it's okay, we're good. But that sector project is complete. And if you played Anno 2070, you may be familiar with that. This is an arc from Anno 2070 that we've basically just dug up. And naturally,
Ich kann jetzt nicht reden. Ich bin
Dr.
ganz tief in
Elena
Eves
Hofwegen
Persönlichkeitscode.
is absolutely eccentric about that. And I just gotta point out that Annetta, the German voice actor for her, did a phenomenal job. Oh well. Now back to this region in the hopes of generating profit. We've begun to expand our production a little bit, and you know what? Let's just go ahead and start trying to export it. The price has gone down. Okay. So this will generate a profit for us of 7,589.
Gute Entscheidung.
Alright.
Ihre Waren werden da
So
draußen
now let's be
benötigt.
making some money from the whole thing while we're expanding our
Transferroute
industry.
nimmt Betrieb auf.
Oh yeah, that's what I want to see. Okay, like I say, you really got to be paying attention to these market updates. The price of androids has just shot up.
Genehmigt. Die Route ist offiziell eröffnet.
See a need, feel a need. Alright, so now
Parameter werden erneuert.
we're getting back right to where we were, and we're continuing to expand our industry here. And just to fill up the space, I've decided to build a couple houses as well, because we need workers. So, let's see, we are now generating plenty of that, so name of the game is just to continue producing biopolymer, and we can further reduce our cost by... why did I
Space
not do
Shuttle
this?
dockt an.
Up, running out of construction bots. Oh well. Can anybody else spare some? Yes, you can. That region that's producing androids has plenty of spare, like I say. That's not only my android producer, but spare building materials producer. And having stuff like that is immensely helpful because now you can see just how quickly my construction bots production is going up. So, once again, we do the same thing as we've done before, just keep expanding. Now while we're letting our industry build up, one trick I want to show you is you'll notice that I have 2 missions accepted up here. One's to get a combat drone and destroy 3 charger units, and then the other one is to get a ship. One thing that you can do if you have your fleet in the sector is just have your command ship get the ship, and then you don't have to bother having the drone kill them. You can just let your navy do that while I have the other ship working on the other mission. The one thing you want to be aware with doing this is I recommend using just your artillery ships, because these ships will fire back at your ships, although they will stay stationary, and unless you have invasions, as I understand it, they're not going to drop what you need to heal, so essentially if you take damage from, you won't be able to heal, and
Herzlichen Glückwunsch.
so on and so forth, whereas if you just use your artillery ships, easy peasy, and that mission is complete,
Bestätigt.
while our other ship is up here, able to complete the other one.
Volle Kraft voraus.
That's one little trick I've learned. If you're getting offered multiple missions like that, and one of them's a combat, you can just complete... Oh crap, crap, crap.
Du
No!
Dass ich sauer bin?
Im Gange.
Well, shoot, I failed that one. Really? Not cool. Yeah, you kind of got to watch out for those things.
Koordinaten
Kind of sucks,
bestätigt.
but oh well, there's that one. But you get the idea of what I was telling you about the combat missions.
Tob dich mal daran aus.
Oh, I hate these missions.
Shuttle
No, thank
kommt
you.
planmäßig an.
Alright, now we've pretty much built all we can on this island. And we filled it in. We got it pretty good to where the information center we built is supplying almost at its capacity, but we're out of spaces to build houses. But I just got to point out that if I haven't already mentioned it, I really love the fact that the amount of information that this supplies to your citizens is based on a road connection and no longer a radius. That's one thing I didn't like about the previous Anno games, and that's how when you'd go
Volle
to
Kraft voraus.
build a service building, it would only affect buildings in a certain radius, whereas now they
Bestätigt.
generate a set value and
Beladen
your citizens
abgeschlossen.
consume a set value dependent upon how
Roger.
far they are away, which works out really, really great because that way
Fracht eingesamt.
I'm able to
Koordinaten
fill in.
bestätigt.
Let's see, where do I need to take this? Okay. I'm able to
Im
fill in
Gange.
houses elsewhere. So as you can see here at the end of the island, on the other side I basically put houses over here where I had space, and they're well supplied with information. So gotta say I like that system, but we pretty much got it spread out, the biopolymer production, to generate enough to export 500. So let's just update the trade route. Oh, and coincidentally the profit has gone up as is, so go to 500,
Die Route ist registriert.
bada bing bada boom. We have now generated
Transferoptionen
the
werden
planned goal
aktualisiert.
of making over 100,000 credits. Additionally, the market for androids has consistently gone back up.
Hoffentlich erweist sich diese Route als profitabel für Sie.
So, with all that into consideration,
Transferoptionen
pretty
werden
much going to bring this
aktualisiert.
video to an end, being as my goal at the beginning of the video was to get myself to over 100,000 credits a minute via market dominance. But before I go, I want to reiterate a couple things, or state a couple things when it
Die
comes to the
Ausführung
market,
dieses
because
Auftrags war
like I say, I'm
vorbildlich.
trying to play this game where I'm dependent upon the market. The market will go up and down.
Verzichten wir auf Höflichkeit.
That much is true.
Heute ist einfach zu
However,
viel los.
just because when it comes to things like androids or the higher tier goods, it may at first seem very profitable to make them, Like right now, they're currently at an 8.5% gain. One thing that you want to look at is, like when you take a look at this first row here of numbers, that is what it calculates the production cost to be. This is what second one over is the purchase price, and then the other one over is the sale price. A lot of the stuff, like when you take a look at the base price for Androids, it says it's $7.95. I don't think that that's necessarily accurate because, well, I guess either way it doesn't matter, but with some of the stuff it's based on the production cost. And let's see if we can find the biopolymers. Huh. Why isn't it showing there they are. Okay, with something like this, you can see biopolymer, it says it costs 14 to produce, but its sale and purchase price right now is currently 60. Producing lower tier goods and then selling them may at first not seem like it's going to be generating a huge profit, but when you take into consideration that every time the market changes, which it does every 15 minutes apparently, it'll increase by a certain percent or lower by a certain percent. When you're dealing with smaller tier goods or lower tier stuff that's cheaper to produce, that change in prices isn't going to affect it too much. I mean, if it's costing 14 to produce and the price right now is 60, if it goes up by a little bit, like a certain percentage, it's not going to be much. I mean, take a look up here, synthetic cells. You can see that it's 7 credits a piece now, and the price has gone up by 41%. So when you take a look at it, that's really not much of a change, going from 7 increasing by 41%. That's, like I say, it's not much of a change at all with a lower tier. So basically what I'm trying to say is, when it comes to the market, higher tier goods may at first seem profitable, and sometimes they are. I mean, the market for stimulants is staying pretty consistent, so once again we want to renew our contract. But when you look at stuff like this, I mean, yes, the 500 Vita drinks is only producing me 31,790 credits a minute, whereas this export route of 150 stimulants is producing almost double that. Not quite double, but almost. You got to keep in mind though, while it may seem better to just go straight for the higher end stuff, the market for the more expensive stuff, like I say, is far more unstable because the changes in price can have a huge impact, whereas if you're exporting lower tier goods, then they stay pretty much consistent, especially if you have that technology. And so that's what I want to recommend. If you're going to be exporting to the market, at least diversify. And the price has gone up slightly here, so renew that please. Yeah, at least be constantly diversifying and
Billig einkaufen und
because by
teuer
doing that,
verkaufen.
you're having a
Das ist
small
die
baseline. I
Erfolgsformel.
mean, you take a look here, that
Transferroute
31,000
wird
may not
überarbeitet.
seem like much, or the amount that we're making from the sale of, what is it? The sale of this biopolymer is 26,000, but all in all, that's about 50,000 credits. And so those small, like, I mean, biopolymer is a tier 1 product, and the Vita drinks is a tier 2 product. Very cheap to produce, but that's generating about roughly 50,000 credits, a little bit more than that, and we're currently making only a little over 107,000. That means the export and production of cheap goods is half of our positive credit balance. And when you take a look at, or show the credit balance here, every one of these, or these two regions that are producing the very cheap goods, are generating enough in tax revenue to cover the expenses. So all in all, like I say, I really want to recommend having lower tier goods being produced because you can get them up rather quickly and they're more stable. I mean, yes, they go up and down, but the changes aren't near that noticeable. And again, the production cost is minimal. I mean, producing biopolymer may take up a lot of space, as you can see here, but I mean, just look how cheap this stuff is to operate. I mean, 300 credits for a fully upgraded biopolymer factory, and then 400 credits for the farm. Yeah, I mean, it's very cheap and very easy. So definitely pursue the lower tier goods for export in addition to the higher tier ones, because the lower tier ones are far more stable from what I've observed. Alright, and then lastly, before I let you all go, or in this video rather, I Another thing I want to talk about is, since we're ultimately trying to prepare for the entrance into the stock market, one thing that you want to do, or at least that I found, is in your self-sufficient areas, is to establish what I refer to as buffer mines. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, like I say, once you get into the stock market, you're going to need a lot of materials, or a lot of money rather, and after you make the purchase of a stock, you'll want to quickly get your money back up to
Shuttle
its
kommt
maximum.
planmäßig an.
And again, this is because if someone starts a bid on one of the shares that you own, you may not have enough influence points to cancel the auction, so you may have to spend a bunch of your money to basically outbid your opponents, but you're not getting that money back if you win. But on the plus side, you don't lose your share. So having a lot of money on hand is far more important than having a positive credit balance. I mean, you do need a high positive credit balance, because if the market or the stock market begins to crash and the shares you have are losing money, then yeah, you're going to be losing your income, which sucks. So you need to have a high credit balance to support that, but you also need to have the ability to get a lot of revenue back quickly, and buffer mines are how I go about doing that. Now, what exactly do I mean by that? Well, essentially the idea is having a mine that is producing a small excess of a resource that you can then sell to the trader. So we take a look here. Now, what he buys, or she buys, depending on which trader you're going to, it changes every 15 minutes. So currently, right now, he's willing to buy the nano ceramics. And what I mean with buffer mines is you establish a small mine that's not fully upgraded, that is just there to basically produce a resource in a very small quantity to slowly build over time. That way, if it stays in stock, and so by so doing, when you need quick cash, you can go here, and then if you have every available mine produced, so let's just start right here. Let's just go with diamonds, or can we support diamond mining? Ooh, I don't think so. I think a diamond mine is going to negatively reduce our income. How much is it? Yeah, 4,000 to operate. Let's just do silicone. Yeah, but we don't have enough workers. Well, let's fix that problem. Okay, there we go. We got plenty of workers to support the base mine. Alright, so like I say, we've got this currently producing silicone, or silicium, whatever it is. And it's going to produce it in a small amount. We haven't got it fully upgraded, and over time this amount will build up to the maximum that we have in storage capacity. And so the idea is to build this up to its maximum capacity slowly over the course of time. That way, when we need quick cash later and we go back here, he may be offering to buy it. And ideally you want to diversify it by basically having every mine possible. So what we also want to do is expand our nano ceramic mine so that can be producing additional income. And how many workers are we going to need for that? A mere 28. So all we need to do is build one more house, and then expand that. There we go. Now we have it to where it's beautiful, no one's unemployed, and we're now generating a surplus of that resource. And so like I say, these, by building or generating just a little bit extra, these will build up over time. And you could also not so much worry with mines, but other things as well. I mean, as you can see here, he's offering to buy some fabric, he's offering to buy some soybeans and some fruit. So I guess it doesn't necessarily have to be mines, but you ideally want some buffer stuff, and that way when you need quick cash, you come here to the sector and then sell off all the surplus. And yes, doing this, like I say, will reduce the amount of income that you're generating passively, but ideally you want to have it to where you're still generating a positive balance by doing this, but at the same time you don't need to worry about the fact that this is going to consume 1,500 credits a minute. I mean, alternatively, one thing you could do is basically just monitor it, and when you get to your maximum storage, just shut it off to save some money. But again, the main thing is, once you enter into the stock market, it is going to be incredibly brutal, and as a direct result of that, you want to be able to you make sure that you can get your cash up to the maximum amount very, very, very quickly. And having those buffers that you can sell off work really well. I mean, you've already seen how I was able to do that on the moon. After I did that geothermal engineering in the Arctic and went through about 7 million credits, I was able to get it all right back very, very quickly. And like I say, buffers like this and small extra production slowly building up over time can help you greatly in recovering from huge purchases or defending yourself in the stock market battles that are to come. Like I say, it's all down to preparation and being prepared, because the stock market is totally worth it when you consider just how much it increases your production in the certain areas for every share you own from another company. But you have to make sure that you are absolutely ready for it in all regards. And establishing stable trade routes with lower tier products is very helpful in that regard, and having buffer mines or buffer farms and all that stuff is also very, very useful in this regard. But anyways, that's it for this episode. Thank you all for watching and have a great day.